Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Dojo Live. I say this week because it's actually the only live show we've had this week, which is pretty rare for us, but it's going to be a great one. My name is Kim Lantis. Of course, I'm airing from Hermosillo, Mexico. With me is America Guerrero, my teammate, Mexico City. And today's guest is what we're all about. That's Jim Donnelly, who is the CEO of Restore Hyper Wellness. Thank you for joining us today, Jim.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, in Austin, Texas. So we've got the nice cuisine out of all of these areas where we're at today. Nice mashup. Making me hungry. It's lunchtime too.
Austin. I love Austin. It's been great living here, being headquartered here, and the weather's perfect today. So, this is the time of year when you really, really love living here. That's for sure.
For sure. I'm a spring person myself. I love spring, my favorite season. Well, cool. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Jim, as we're introducing you to our audience today?
Yeah, so I consider myself a serial entrepreneur. I grew up in a household where my dad was kind of a wacky entrepreneur. He tried a bunch of things. By the way, none of them worked. He failed again and again. But he was always optimistic. He never, ever lost his enthusiasm. He woke up every day thinking, today's the day I'm going to go do something and it's going to be different this time. And so that was sort of the backdrop of how I was raised. And so I started my first company when I was in grad school, when I was 21 at the University of Texas. I did have a military commitment because the Army paid for my school. So I went off and was an Army officer and served in a few different places. Went to Ranger School and jumped out of planes and did all that crazy stuff. Got out of the military and wanted to kind of build my capabilities and pedigree. So I went to a series of blue chip companies like Coca-Cola and did international marketing for them, and Kraft Foods, and was a brand manager for Cool Whip and Jello Pudding and a few others. Then woke up one day in New York City and everyone else was starting internet companies. So I started an internet company called iGo. We fast forward 5 years, we won a Webby Award for the top travel site in the US. We ended up selling that to Travelocity. And then ever since then, I've had the latitude to do whatever I was passionate about, and so started a series of companies around personal interests and what I thought would be the most useful for the world I lived in, whether it was my local community or the bigger sort of community in the world. And so always had this notion of you get to choose what you do, you get to choose the people you work with. So choose well and do great things that are good for society.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for your service to the country, and also congratulations on your fearlessness. I think that element of your father rubbing off on you, and congratulations on having a success streak that maybe he didn't get to experience. So I'm very happy for you with that. So your current endeavor, is Restore Hyper Wellness. Tell us a bit about Restore.
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, I was training for a triathlon. Someone said, hey, you ought to try cryo. You look kind of beat up. And so I wasn't sure how to take that, but I took it in the right way and said, sure, I'll go try it. So I went and did it. And cryo, which is cold therapy, made me feel better right away. But I hated everything else about the experience. So I said, I can do this better. So we opened up a little cryo studio. It was a fabulous success. We opened 5 more just to kind of test it in different places. Once again, a fabulous success. And then we said, now how do we make this a real business? Because we considered that a guy in sweatpant business. Anybody can throw up a cryo chamber. And so we added a bunch of different modalities. We created this notion of hyper wellness. We trademarked that. We added medical services. We created a national infrastructure for telemedicine and the ability to do this across the entire United States. And so essentially Restore is a direct-to-consumer retail offering that features preventative health and wellness. The traditional system in America is a sick care system where you get sick and they try to fix you. We're very different. We're preventative. We're upfront. It's improve your immunity, make you feel better, make you heal better, help your body do the things that it's naturally capable of doing. We've done that across the country. We're now in over 40 states. We have 135 locations open. We open a store every 3 days at this point.
Wow.
And so, very, very active. It's a rocket ship that that is doing fabulously well. And we've had a few aha moments. Number one, we thought it would be very sports and recovery driven. That's actually a super small part of our business. The bigger part are all the people who have chronic conditions, and that's 70% of the people in the US. They come in for a variety of things, and we help them with a more natural, sustainable thing versus a
Wow.
pharmaceutical option.
So I think we'll go ahead and talk about those aha moments,
Yeah.
especially with the theme of what you chose today, right?
Yeah.
I think that fits in nicely. And we're going to have to define a bit of the cryotherapy as well for those of us
Yeah.
who might not know what that exactly is. But America,
Yeah.
what is the topic that Jim chose today?
So today's show is starting a new company, learning to cry. So why mastering the art of crying is essential to starting a new company. At the beginning, I thought that there was like a little bit of sarcasm, but now that I have this context, it's like, okay, this is like a different topic. So could you explain us why you choose this topic and why is it
Yeah.
relevant?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think
for
at
sure.
first blush, people might read that and sort of think that you have to cry because it's hard and you have lots of setbacks and all that sort of thing. That's actually not it at all. We've had a lovely ride, enjoyed every day. The way I like to say it is my favorite saying in the company, and everyone could quote this saying from the lowest level person to the highest level person: a day that I don't cry is a day that I don't feel, and a day that I don't feel is a wasted day. So that's the ethos of Restore. If you're not feeling this, it's because you're not doing meaningful things. We're a mission-driven company. We are fundamentally changing healthcare and wellness in this country. We have hundreds of people every single day that are transformed. They come in, they've sort of been through the traditional medical system. It's not delivered what they needed. They come to Restore. It's a much better approach. And literally, we help them become a whole different person. Essentially, we help them get back to being the person they want to be so they can do more of what they love without pain and not being incapacitated. So there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And so when you see it, number one, embrace it. And don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to cry. And understand it's lucky when you're in a business where you get to do that every day. And I also say, that philosophy isn't just about our customers, it's also about our employees. We have amazing, talented employees that have chosen to come here, and they're on really great career paths, and I see them growing and developing and taking on more and more things. There was a day literally about 2 years ago where one of the marketing teams came up with a project and they presented it to me. They fully developed it, and I literally cried, and they were like, "Why are you crying? Is it that bad?" And I was like, "No, it's amazing."
Oh,
And I didn't have
it's
to
that
tell you
good.
one thing. I didn't have to give you the idea. I didn't have to work through it with you. This is 100% you. We have now become a company where we have all these really capable, talented people doing things of their own initiative. And that's why we're a rocket ship. And then finally, we are a franchise system. So we have franchisees throughout the country, and we are literally creating generational wealth for them and transforming their lives as well. Those people become your partner, your friend. And if, once again, if you don't feel that and you don't sort of treasure that, then you're missing the point. And so I always say that to every business owner. You should do things that are meaningful. You should create a mission-based organization. You should value and nurture your employees. You should make sure that your customers are having great outcomes. And then when you see all those things, celebrate it and shed a tear and show that you really do care and you really do value that this is about more than just making money and having a business that benefits you.
For sure. And I think, thank you for framing that, because you're right. Unfortunately, when we hear crying, I think most people are going to initially kind of, attach that to a negative connotation and negative emotion. But we're all about those happy tears, right? And that willingness to feel things deeply, to give ownership to those that we work with and work for. So let's talk a little bit about exactly what you do. You mentioned cryotherapy. I have extremely high level understanding of what this is, but what is it?
Yeah, so we say we do hyper wellness. So hyper wellness is a proactive approach to your health and wellness. It involves 9 different components, and some of those components are things like cold therapy, heat therapy, micronutrients through IV drips, several other things. And so, in order to accomplish all of the tenets of cryotherapy, we have services that we deliver in the store. So we do deliver cryotherapy. That's extreme cold therapy. So you literally get into a chamber, it's negative 250 degrees. You're completely naked, other than socks and gloves and maybe something over your ears. And you stand there for 3 minutes. Anyway, your body immediately reacts to the cold. Your brain thinks that you're freezing to death. So it kicks in all of these natural mechanisms, defense mechanisms, that ultimately produce really great results for you. So your blood rushes to your core. It gathers anti-inflammatory proteins and other good things. Then when you get out, all of your blood vessels expand, and that blood rushes back to your extremities. And that's part of this whole anti-inflammatory process. And
wow. I can only imagine. This past summer, I went to Paradise Falls in Wyoming, and it's like this natural sort of like water slide made completely out of snow runoff, and you land in this pool at the bottom. And once I went kerplunk into that pool, I was like, I'm dead. I'm dying. It felt like I paralyzed and you actually even forgot to breathe, which isn't the case, but the coldest experience of my life. I can't even imagine 250 degrees.
Well, here's the problem. So you're sitting in a comfortable environment right now. You're going to be in a comfortable environment all day. You're going to go from your work, you're going to go to your car, you're going to go to your house, you're going to have air conditioning, heat. Everything is going to be perfect. So your body stays in this sort of range that's very narrow. That's not what your body was designed for. Your body was designed to handle heat and cold and all of these different variables. But modern society has kept us from that. And therefore, there are negative consequences to that. So it is actually good for your body to be stressed, not the kind of stress that people think of in a negative context, but exercise is stress. Getting into the cold is stress, getting into heat is stress, all of these things, they're really, really good for you. So we try to do things that accentuate your body's ability to have, just a better result, better immunity, better healing power, all those sorts of things.
Very
I
cool.
have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so it's curious that what you do is that you help people to get back to their natural feelings. So it's like something that you by itself you should have, but you are pushing people to feel, to have emotions. So how all this therapy, for how long people have been practicing, or I don't know, I'm curious.
So, here's a simple way that I would say it. So when you're talking about the services in the store, we're trying to get people in what we call a positive feedback loop or a virtuous feedback loop. The reality of it is most people are in a negative feedback loop. And so the negative feedback loop is you're doing things that you love. You're young, you're happy, you're vital, you play sports, you get out and exercise and all that. Well, then you kind of get a little older and your body starts to hurt. And so you stop playing sports. You stop doing this thing or another thing. And so therefore you stop doing it and your body starts to hurt more. So you stop doing more things. And really what I am describing is aging and heading towards death. The reality of it is the antidote to that is to not stop doing things. And so the point of Restore is we do things that the more you do, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more of those things you do. And then you get to go out in the world and be yourself again. You get to do more of what you love to do. So the day that you stop doing the things that you love to do, you become a different person. You become less healthy. You become less desirable to be around. You become less compelling. You become at some point a cranky old bastard, So we want to prevent that. Everybody intuitively knows that if you exercise a little more, if you eat better, if you get better sleep, those things all are good for you. And so there are ways that you do that. So if you can do things like cryotherapy after your exercise so that you're not sore and you don't hurt as much, that's a good thing because then you'll go back out and exercise more. If you sleep more and you have more energy, you'll do more things. So everything we do is about accentuating the ability to get out in the world and do the things that you love. And that's literally our mission is to make hyper wellness affordable and accessible for everybody. We're not interested in doing it just for rich people and pro athletes. By the way, we have tons of rich people. We have the top pro athletes in the world. I could name athletes that everybody in the world knows. Football players, baseball players, soccer players. They come to Restore. But what's more compelling to me is that we make this accessible to everyone, firefighters, school teachers. You don't have to be a millionaire to come in and do what we do at Restore. Now, previously, that's the way it worked. If you were rich, you had lots of options. You could do all these things. But that's not a business I want to be a part of. I want to do something for everybody. I want to democratize hyper wellness. And so that's much, much more interesting to me.
Going back to the purpose that you touched on at the start of the show. So let's talk about how you've gone about making this accessible. I imagine that technology's probably played a pretty heavy role in that. Earlier in the show, you mentioned telemedicine. I'm imagining that with these extreme cold chambers and whatever, there's probably tech involved for like safety protocols and automatic releases, and I don't know. But what technology, specifically software technology, are you utilizing at Restore?
Yeah, so there's lots of technology. By the way, we think of ourselves as a tech company. And so most people look at us and say, well, you're a health and wellness company that's retail that does franchises. That is all true. But at the end of the day, that is our distribution strategy. So we use our retail stores and our franchise locations as distribution for our tech. And so what is our technology? So, over the course of the next several months, you'll start to see more things come out on this. You'll wake up in the morning and this will greet you and it'll be, hey, here we are at Restore. We saw how you slept last night. Here's what we think you could do better today to sleep better. Here's what we think you could do better today to move. And it's going to be a combination of recommendations outside of what we provide and a set of recommendations around what we do provide. And what we're trying to show in our app is that the little things that you do day to day add up to big health improvements. You can't go from unhealthy to healthy in one big step. You have to do lots of little things. So we will show you how these little things that you're doing day to day are adding up to bigger and bigger health improvements. And the idea is you have to get on that positive feedback loop. The more you do, the better you feel, the more you do. So technology helps bring that to life. Content helps bring that to life. And so there's lots of work around that. And there are lots of algorithms, for instance, in that allow us to create personalized protocols, that allow us to kind of dynamically change what we're recommending to you as your situation changes. So that's part of it. There's other tech as well. There's hardware tech. So we're the largest provider of cryotherapy in the world. All of the cryotherapy machines out there were just simply not good enough for us. So we went out and we developed our own cryotherapy machines. So these big chambers, 4 people at a time, they're aesthetically beautiful. They provide better efficacy. And we have a manufacturing facility.
Hold on. 4 people at a time naked in their socks.
Well, when you go in with other people, depending on the people, we give you a little spa thing to cover up. And,
I'm sorry for the interruption.
You can, but depending on how familiar you are with people, you get a little less. If you get 4 big football players, they're perfectly comfortable being in their underwear around each other. You and I, as people that are not married, for instance, we would not go in our underwear together. We would not be naked together.
I'm teasing. I apologize for the distraction.
No. We have an intimate business. We have naked people in our business. We are sticking needles with IVs in people's arms. We are advising them on very personal things. So we absolutely have an intimate business. We laugh about things all the time. We've seen every kind of funny thing. We have names for customers. We have this whole class of customers that we call exhibitionists. They come out and they kind of have the robe closed, but not totally closed. Like little things like, and we would be like, listen, I'm flattered.
So you're using your tech to identify, like, what are we calling them? Your personas. One of them is the exhibitionist. How can we better serve the exhibition?
That's right. Exactly. So, once again, what we do is serious, but you can't take yourself too seriously. We say that our environments are transparent, social, and fun. So we do have as good a time as you can have around health issues and wellness. And like I said, we laugh all the time. We consciously make the environment very open so that when you walk in our locations, you can see everybody doing what they're doing. Now, if you asked a doctor, they would tell you, well, you can't do that. You got to have lots of private little rooms, and everybody's not side by side. No one's talking to each other. You got to be really hush hush about why you're here. That's not the way Restore works. People come in, they're sitting right next to someone else doing an IV, and they will say the words, why are you here? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why are they giving you this ingredient? And it does become much more social, and it becomes more validating. And so, that's a fun part of what we do.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's
If you wanted to continue about the tech behind your actual chambers and how you went on to develop them to be stellar
So there's
machines,
some
please do.
hardware tech. Listen, there's a reason. Why are we in Poland? We're in Poland because that is the center of excellence in the world for cold technology. That's where they invented liquid nitrogen. You can go get a PhD in cold technology there. So we have a set of engineers and a whole team there in our factory producing our very specific machines. And so that's not the tech we're known for. Of course, people love the fact that we have technology around this hardware that we've created and this equipment we've created. The bigger tech investment for us is all around information technology, software that, our the Restore app that's coming out, those sorts of things. So we literally went out, we raised $140 million from General Atlantic.
Wow,
General Atlantic is one of the top growth equity funds in the country. And the big investment, there are two big investments from that money. One big investment is technology. So we have hired a tremendously talented tech team. We have full stack developers. If there's a talented full stack developer that's looking for a job, we will hire them on the spot. We have, some of the top, data scientists, all of these different pieces that allow us to go really deep and push people to better health outcomes. And so, we're in Austin, Texas. So you got Google here, Facebook here, and you got Tesla here. And a lot of people want to go work for those companies. Those are sexy companies to go work for if you're in the tech space. But here's the thing. If you go work at Google right now, you're a tiny cog in the wheel. You are working on this big monolithic thing, and you are just working on a tiny little piece of it. You come and work at Restore, you are working on bigger picture things, extremely interesting projects. You're working on something that has a real human mission that is creating better human outcomes. And you got to be really clever in the way you do that. You got to be, careful the way you handle people's personal information and data. You can't be too creepy. So when I say that Restore will greet you,
working in your underwear then.
Yeah, you. By the way, you can work in your underwear, but you don't want to be too invasive to people and that sort of thing. And so, I think we have one of the more lovely tech opportunities at every level than some of these other places that people want to go. By the way, I love hiring people that have been at Google. I love hiring people that have been at Facebook. I love hiring people that have been at Tesla. But at some point, a lot of developers wake up and say, I want more. I want to work on really cool projects. I want to be part of the big picture. I don't want to work on this tiny little myopic thing. And by the way, I'd love to work at a company that's got a little heart and soul and treats their employees really well. And treating your employees well is more than just having free food and things like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into taking care of people.
For sure.
Yeah. Could you? Yeah, go ahead.
No, please, America.
Now that we are talking about culture, could you tell us more about your journey? Because I know that your company has this balance of technology, human health, about I don't know, spirituality. Is it involved here?
Yeah, here's what I'd say about our company and our culture. I think we literally have the healthiest company in the world. So from a physical perspective, like-minded people attract each other. We attract people that are proactive about their health, that care about the thing that we're doing, which is to help people with their health and wellness. And so number one, we just tend to attract, really positive, health-oriented people, number one. So that helps. Number two, we are a mission-driven company. So we attract the people that really care about doing something great in the world. By the way, I'd much rather be around those folks than people that all they care about is money. The third thing is we have an environment that welcomes talented people. I say to people in an interview, the last question I want to ask you is, what are you interested in? And I always say, I don't care what it is, but you better be able to answer the question, because if you're not interested in something, you're probably not interesting. And I don't want to be around people that aren't interesting. So we make sure we put a premium on people that care about things, that have interests, and they make a much more interesting environment. And then we give them massive amounts of opportunity. Talented people here have a great career path. They get more and more responsibility. People see that. And then on top of that, you throw things like, yes, we do have kitchens all over the office with free food. We do let them have access to all the services that we provide our customers for free. We do bring in nurses on a regular basis and do IVs in the office. We have fun events. We have an exercise program here. We have a meditation program. We do all of those things that are built around making our employees as healthy as possible. And so how do I know it's working? Well, we have close to 100% retention. So I read all these articles. I think they're nonsensical, talking about the Great Resignation. You know why people resign? Because they're at a company that's shitty. They're at a company that has no purpose, has no mission. They're not around interesting people. They're not connected to their colleagues. Like, those are the companies people are leaving. People aren't leaving Restore. People don't come here and want to leave. They come here and they want to stay. And so we don't worry about all that sort of stuff. And then the other thing, by the way, I'd say we're one of the most mentally healthy companies as well. And I will say it was because we've had a different approach the last 2.5 years. And this is a little bit controversial, but we've been in the office for the last 2.5 years. By the way, we have a work from home policy. If you want to work from home, you've been able to do that for the last 2.5 years.
Flexibility, yeah.
Nobody does it. They want to come in. They want to be around their colleagues. They want to be in this environment that's fun and interesting every day. It's better to be in the office to them. And so, I don't think we have the folks that have sort of been disconnected and out on their own and doing Zoom calls from their bedroom hour after hour. I oftentimes when I'm interviewing people, I say, you want to know the culture here? Let me show you a picture. And I show them pictures of our Halloween party from 2 years ago and from last year. First of all, everybody dresses up. It looks like a Hollywood casting set.
Yeah.
And they're elaborate, amazing costumes. Our accounting team, for instance, was super creative. We have an accountant that's named Sam with a beard and a ponytail and a mustache. So all 15 of the accountants in the finance team
dressed as Sam.
And so they made sure that he came into work 30 minutes late. And when he walked in, there's 15 Sams there. And I could go on and on and on and on about all the fun things. But by the way, the underlying theme also is that we get things done. And so people feel this sense of accomplishment and getting things done on top of a lovely, beautiful environment. And I think that's the culture here. And I'm super proud of it, by the way. And
you should be. It sounds as though you really should be. As we wrap up, we're coming to the end of our show. Unfortunately, it's been a very fun one, very insightful. I do have one final question for you.
Sure.
Earlier you alluded to these aha moments about how, wow, it actually turns out that the people who are more interested in us aren't these, rich athletes, but people who have chronic illness and things like that. What other, you personally, maybe has been your aha moment as this career serial entrepreneur? Maybe what's the worst thing that could possibly happen and how you got through it and that's over? Or I don't know, what is your aha moment or moments that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, there are definitely company aha moments. And, I don't think we need to get into those. We've talked about on a personal level, it's not necessarily cloaked in like bad things or disappointment or anything. It's just my philosophy at this point. And my philosophy is you got to enjoy the journey. The destination kind of takes care of itself. If you're doing good work, if you're providing something that's of value to people, you're going to have great financial outcomes and you're going to hit your destinations along the way that you care about. But for me, that misses the point a little bit. It's hard to be an entrepreneur. It's hard to run a company. It's not this romantic thing every day that people think, oh, you're an entrepreneur. That's so cool. And it's hard work, but I make the journey beautiful all the time. I surround myself with people that I want to be around. I surround myself with good human beings. I surround myself with people of common cause. I choose a company that does great things. And so therefore I have a mission. I created an environment where I can cry every day, and people value that vulnerability, and they value the ethos that we're doing something worthy of crying for every day. I never lose sight of what's important to me. I always tell my employees, hey, you know what's more important than work? Everything that you care about, your family, your interests. Do not ever subsume those important things to work. Now, make work a part of your life, work hard, accomplish things. But if you ever have to choose between doing something important with your kids and your family, and you choose work over that, you're going to have a problem with me. By the way, I don't want every employee to stay here all the time. I want employees to have great goals and great ambitions. And I hope that I inspire many of my employees to become entrepreneurs. I had an employee a couple of months ago that was doing a bakery on the side. And I only discovered it because she gave me a box of these really wonderful brownies. And I said, where did these come from, Reem? And she goes, well, that's my bakery. And I was like, oh my God, why haven't you told me this sooner? How do we get this bakery to be bigger so you can go out and be an entrepreneur full time? And so it's just having the right mindset about this. So we've had tremendous financial success with Restore, but I tell people all the time, I was happy before that. I'm happy now. I'm going to be happy tomorrow. $100 million doesn't change my life. I'm going to be married to the same woman. I'm going to treat my kids the same, live in the same house, drive the same truck. I'm good. And I think when you can do all of that, and as part of how you build your company and how you build the things around you, then the things that happen that are bad, that are unexpected, you have the mechanisms to deal with them, and you have the things in place that, of course, nothing's perfect. You're going to have bad days, but you have all these things in place that make those relatively easy to sort of speed through.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim, for your words of wisdom as we sign off today. Thank you for your time, sharing your own story as well as Restore's story with us. We're coming to the end of our show today, unfortunately. But it turns out we actually do have a show lined up for tomorrow. This just came in. America, who is going to be joining us tomorrow?
Of course. So is Rurari, is that how you pronounce it? Rurari Baker? See you.
We're going to go with it.
Rurari. See you at Alley Grow, and the topic is going to be about the science of hitting the inbox. So don't miss it.
All right.
Curious.
Well, thank you guys very much. It was a pleasure. I always enjoy having these conversations, and I'm honored to be on your show. And
the pleasure is ours.
I love your spirit. It's great.
Thank you. Stick around with us just 1 minute as we wrap up. See you today here or tomorrow at Dojo Live, 12 o'clock Pacific. Bye for now, everyone.